It would be nice if we weren't bombarded by ads the first thing, but from the 1 second I've watched of this, we're going to start with what to expect from this video. So what we're going to do is react to this video, and then we're going to listen to a song from Financial Philharmonics, because that's what we do. And you're going to hear my opinion on this along the way. So, what are these 5 tricks? And then I guess I'm going to ask you, which ones do you use and which ones are you going to implement in the future? And I'll tell you which one's my favorite.
In this video, we're going to talk about 5 pretty easy, evidence-based things you can do to massively increase the chances that you're actually going to achieve your goals. Now, obviously, when it comes to actually...
I guess this is 11 months ago. December is the time when people decide that they are going to set goals. And with the new year, it's an easy time to do like your New Year's resolutions. But you should honestly do this throughout the year, because what we do as humans is we do good, and then something happens, we mess up our habit, and then all of a sudden we don't do it anymore, we fell off the wagon, and we think like we can't possibly make it up, so then we just stop doing whatever to improve ourselves. So to me, the biggest thing is giving yourself grace. Don't try to make things up, like not make it up as in like fictitious, just keep doing your journey.
Setting and achieving goals, generally the thing that separates people who do achieve their goals from the people who don't achieve their goals is the action that they're actually putting into them. But if you look at this...
Yeah, goals and actions on your goals are different things. I like setting quantifiable goals, and also like short, medium, and long-term goals, and making sure that I'm doing actions now that will help me in the future, or to get to where I want to go anyways.
Science, there are actually these 5 relatively straightforward things you can do to stack the deck in your favor. Call them hacks, call them habits. They don't take very long, but they will massively boost your odds of actually achieving the goals. And so if you're already doing all 5 of these things, fantastic, you are winning. And if you're not doing some or any of these 5 things, then you've got some very easy wins that you can apply pretty much as soon as you finish watching this.
I like easy wins. And for some reason, Pi is sitting in the middle of the living room chewing on a bone. And I think because my dad came back into town, Ada's at the fence, hanging out with her boyfriend, my dad's dog. So, hopefully we'll see puppy dogs tonight.
Video. And by the way, if you're new here, hello, my name is Ali. I'm a doctor turned entrepreneur and author, and since 2017 I've been making videos on this channel which are all about the books, the ideas, the strategies and tools that can help us live more intentionally, be more productive, and generally build a life that we truly love. I also spent ages researching and writing this book, Feel Good Productivity, which is a New York Times and Sunday Times bestseller, and this dives deep into how we can get stuff done without burning out.
And this is the part of the video where people tell you how they're an authority figure. He's a doctor, he wrote this book, he's a bestseller. He's not going to say it's the best book, because you can't do that. But I don't really have authority. I'm just a girl that likes to talk about finance. And that's why I have a channel called Bad Financial Decisions, because I wanted to avoid having to become an authority figure in the space. And now look at us. So we're going to make this amazing financial commentary, because I like doing it. This is how I would spend my time. This is how I spend my time in the evenings.
Or sacrificing the things that matter most. And it's available in paperback, hardback, Kindle, Audible, basically everywhere books are sold, and has also been translated into 35 languages, and it's got a couple thousand...
You know, in 2026, he could probably just put this into ChatGPT and have it in like 250 plus languages. And you have like text to speech, so you can even put it into that many languages, just, you know, read out loud. So AI is definitely making things more accessible, although it's becoming harder to like tell what's real and what's AI slop. But he says he's a doctor. I don't know. Does he have any background in psychology? Or like, I think that being a doctor is different than being a psychologist. So we'll see.
5-star reviews on Amazon and Goodreads, so if that sounds interesting, it'll be linked down below if you want to check it out. Alright, so let's start with point number 1. Now here I want to play you this clip from a guy called Jim Rohn. Now Jim Rohn was a multimillionaire success coach guy based in the US, but at age 25 he was completely broke, but he managed to get mentored by this business tycoon guy called Mr. Shoaff. And here he is talking about an interesting encounter with Mr. Shoaff that completely changed his life.
Not long after I met Mr. Shoaff, we're having breakfast one morning. Mr. Shoaff said, Mr. Rohn, now that we've gotten acquainted, we know each other fairly well, he said, maybe one of the best ways I can help you, he said, let me see your current list of goals. Let's go over them and talk about it. And I said,
do I have a set list of goals? A couple of years ago, I had a running list of like to-dos, like immediate goals. I think I may have actually, well, I think I have a document for my portfolio, like my investing goals, but I don't think I have an actual like Word document of like written down, here are my goals, but I do think about it. I have them in my head. Basically, retire early, spend more time with family, play with my dogs, hydroponics.
what? I don't have a list. He said, well, Mr. Rohn, if you don't have a list of your goals, he said, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did. And that got my attention. I said, you mean my bank balance would change if I had a list of goals? He said, drastically. So that day I became a student of setting goals. And I've used it to dynamically affect my life. I've taught it to some of my business colleagues. We use it to do business around the world. Setting goals.
So
This guy has like a tone to his voice that like he belongs in an old-timey movie, and I could probably listen to him forever. But I think if you have concrete goals and how to achieve the goals, you can accept like short-term loss in money, and you can change your habits temporarily. And by temporarily, I mean for like a year or two, so that you can achieve the goal, so that you have a bigger and better life. Because if you don't know what you want, it's hard to move yourself towards it. Like, you can't say, I want to be a millionaire. Like, how are you going to become a millionaire? But if you say, I'm going to expand my business by 100 customers by the end of 2026, that's achievable and quantifiable, and you're getting the 100 customers so that you can get your 1,000 customers, so that you have your $10,000 a month that you are that you need in order to survive. And by you, I mean me. So hey,
this is interesting. Write down your list of goals. I'm curious, do you have a list of goals written down somewhere? Could you bring them up if someone asked you to see them?
I mean, I have my investing goals written down, but I don't have like my immediate, mid, and long-term goals. I think that's a good thought exercise though, it's a part of budgeting. So when you budget, you say, I have this for like all of my immediate needs, this is the leftover money, what do I do with this leftover money? Like, you could do some in charity, but like, what does my life look like, and where do I want to move? Because your life has it has momentum, and the work you've put into it in the past gives you that momentum. If you want to change your direction, it happens with effort. It's like physics. Anyways.
But you might be thinking, this seems a bit too good to be true. This is just some personal development guru. It's like, it surely can't be that basic as just writing down your list of goals. Do we have any actual science or research to back this up?
It's also when you put in the thought process and you back it up with actual tangible action items, that way you can take action on it. I think it's like journaling, where when you realize what your goal is and you clarify it, then you can actually achieve it. But hey, let's see if there's any science backed basis for this.
And to that, I would like to draw your attention to this study from the Dominican University. And these guys are basically testing, does writing down your goals compared to not...
But if you write it on social media, sometimes the act of telling people you're going to do something feels like an accomplishment, and therefore it actually inhibits you actually doing things. So that's just the my immediate reaction to this is just like, be careful that telling people that you're going to do something is not the same as doing something. But if it's for yourself,
writing them down, change your chances of achieving said goals. So on the y-axis, we've got average goal achievement, and then we've got two groups. One group did not write down their goals, and the other group wrote down their goals. This was the average goal achievement for the group that set goals but did not write them down. And this was the average goal achievement for the group that set goals and did write them down. The research...
Well, that's interesting. I think when you write it down, it's easier as like a checklist of like, I'm doing this, and then you tend to forget things in the moment.
Just found that if you write down your goals, you're around 42% more likely to actually achieve them. Now, I don't know about you, but if I could improve by 42% the probability of me actually achieving the goals I've set for myself simply by writing them down, I would probably do that because it doesn't take that long to write down your goals. And that is why our evidence-based strategy number one for achieving your goals is...
I mean, I have a planner where I write down my plans for the day, my goals for today. But maybe I will try to do this soon, just to have my I think there's a book called like the 4-week year, where basically 2026 will do 4-week units of goals, because like a whole month might be too long. It contains it to like a reasonable time frame. So I'll say in the first 1/13 of 2026, I'm going to achieve this. And that way, those are the immediate goals, and then the medium-term goals and long-term goals. And I'm not sure if I like to not have too many goals going on at the same time, or have them all be like the same momentum. Like they're all things I can achieve while I'm doing the same thing. You know what I'm talking about. Okay.
To simply write them down. Now, it doesn't really matter what format you write them down in. I personally have a Google Doc that I've named Goalkeeper, and I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I personally like setting quarterly goals rather than annual goals. I refer to my quarterly goals as...
Okay, so he has like health. I mean, remembering that... Oh, actually, let's go back and look at his document. So he has health, relationship, and work goals. I could probably find a template for the types of goals. I would do like medium, short, medium, and long-term goals, but I do like that he has health, relationships, and work.
The last couple of years, and I personally like...
I just want to make sure that he doesn't have anything else.
Setting quarterly goals rather than annual goals. I refer to my quarterly goals as my quarterly quests, and each quarter...
Quarterly quests. There's probably some kind... There's like a D&D like chore wars where you can earn points for doing chores. I wonder if there's like a goal quest one. There's probably is. It probably isn't more efficient than just having a Google spreadsheet though.
Quarter, so every 3 months, I like to set around 3 or 4 of them. I found that if I set any more than 4, I don't end up making progress on any of them, and so 3 or 4 seems to be like a reasonable number.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 goals at the same time. That way, or if you have more goals, they need to be in the same momentum. Like, for example, to Jan Yieldmight, I wanted to fix the subscription button, but I also needed to update the ETFs that declared yesterday. So I deployed it at the same time. So both of those goals happened at the same time. So it was 2 goals, but it was basically for the same thing. So yes, less goals written down, do the clarification. But yeah, I'm probably going to do the every 4-week goals, and then maybe 1 year from now, and then just like very long term, like 5 years from now type thing.
Alrighty, so now we come to insanely simple strategy for actually achieving your goals, number 2. Now here it is worth us understanding a little bit of the brain called the reticular activating system. Now the RAS is basically a
Reticular activating system. This sounds like something from a sci-fi movie where they give you it's like Jurassic Park where you have the interactive system and it tells you about it, and then they're going to do something weird to it. So what is the reticular activating system?
a bundle of nerves at the base of your brainstem that acts as a filter, and it determines what information your brain pays attention to. Obviously, in day-to-day life, there are millions upon millions of various sensory inputs that your brain could pay attention to. So how does it know which ones to focus on? Well, that's where the reticular activating system comes in. Generally, based on your goals and priorities, the brain filters out stuff that is irrelevant to those goals and priorities and helps focus your attention on the stuff that actually matters to you. The classic example of this is, let's say you are buying a car and you're like, man, I really want to get a Fiat 500. All of a sudden, by the fact that you've set the intention to buy potentially a Fiat 500, you will suddenly start seeing Fiat 500s literally everywhere you look. And that is not because all of a sudden when you decided to set the goal of buying.
Oh, okay. So this is like the yellow car thing where it's like you never realize how many yellow cars are on the road until you have a yellow car.
Buying a Fiat 500, suddenly everyone else also bought Fiat 500s. It's because of your reticular activating system. Because you have set this as a goal for yourself, your brain is more likely to notice all of the Fiat 500s that are floating around the place. And so strategy number 2 for drastically improving our chances of actually achieving our goals, it's to actually look at those goals that you've written down every single week, if not every single day.
Okay, so you can't just write them down and abandon them. To be fair, my investing goals, I do reference them because I wrote down which ETFs because right now in my leverage trash account, my goal is to get to 20 shares of each of the ones I care about and then cycle through them until we have, the 100, like we just keep going together. I think there's gonna be like 10 in the end, but like I'm not setting it in stone until I start actually investing in them, but I'm just getting started. Anyways, what I'm saying is I refer back to that document and it has my goals for investing. So yes, once you write it down, because if you write it down and you set it, forget it, and you don't do anything with it, then there's no point in doing it.
Mistake number 1 that people make is that they don't set goals in the first place, but you're not going to make that mistake because you're watching this video. Mistake number 2 is that if they do set goals, they don't write them down. And mistake number 3 is that for so many of us, we set goals at the start of the year and then we never look at them ever.
My question would be, is there any study, actually, we have Gemini, we could look. Gemini, and let's do the one that actually has the subscription. No, it's just, okay. Are there any scientific studies that prove whether handwriting goals are more effective than electronic? Stored goals? Because I thought years ago, like handwritten notes during class, you actually wind up remembering those better than if you had a notepad and you were typing it the whole time, because of how brains work. Yeah, so it has, handwriting offers an advantage over typing for deeper cognitive engagement. So you might want to pick up like a cheap notebook from, I knew I should have picked up that notebook from the Dollar Tree, $1.25, and you put your goal in the notebook that you've written down, and then you write down like a diary. So handwriting encourages selective processing and rephrasing of information in one's own words. And it's slower than typing, so it forces you to actively summarize the material instead of transcribing it verbatim. And so the deeper cognitive effort means that you have better comprehension and retention of conceptual information. So it does increase the brain activity, and it's okay. I was saying the generation effect, be like, because you're old and not raised in the digital age. That's not what that is. It's just like it's a psychological phenomenon where memory is stronger for material that is self-generated compared to material that is simply read or copied. So they also cite the 42% higher achievements. So if you have complex or meaningful goals, then it is highly likely that just writing it by hand, at least at first, you can transcribe it afterwards, but if you handwrite it, then you probably will remember it better. So maybe I will actually pick up that planner from the Dollar Tree. Anyways, sorry for that tangent.
Again, and so the idea behind strategy number 2 is that we can harness the reticular activating system by actually looking at our goals every single day or every single week. I personally review mine once a week. As part of my weekly reset, I've got a little journaling prompt that says, what were my quarterly quests and how are they going? And that means every single week when I do my weekly resets, it just reminds me to check up on my quarterly goals. Each week.
Yeah, so basically it's a journaling thing where you hold yourself accountable, which you could probably, instead of writing it down, do a YouTube channel and, have your goals and keep yourself accountable in that way, or have it as a X post or something where, like, my goals for this 4 weeks were this, and I did these things to help with that achievement. And so, yeah, it's a good accountability thing. I approve.
I also set 3 main priorities for the week, and then as part of my daily morning manifesto is what I call it, morning manifesto journaling practice.
Okay, this seems a little too complicated now. Like, I don't want to, I guess I could set my goal for the week. I would rather just have a rolling to-do list, because I'm pretty good at, going through tasks. I don't need an entire morning manifesto, but I think it's also when you do your stand-ups at work, which, if you're not a programmer, basically every morning you have to say what you did in the last 24 hours, what you're going to do in the next 24 hours, and what are your blockers. So I could start doing stand-ups just internally with myself to keep myself more organized.
I ask myself a simple question, which is, what were our weekly priorities and how were they going? I like to refer to it as R rather than my, because it sort of feels like I'm harnessing all parts of my brain. What were our
the royal we
weekly priorities and how are they going? So every single week I'm reviewing my quarterly goals, and every single day I'm reviewing my weekly priorities. This does not take very much time at all. This is like a 10-second job at most, but it's just that little jog that the brain needs to be like, oh yeah, I did intend to sign up for that.
I could also start making issues in Trello or GitHub and use that, but I mean, it's just me. So instead of storing it all in my brain, I could write some of this down. We'll see.
Squash club, or oh yeah, I did intend to make progress on that particular work task. And sometimes it's just so easy to forget those things otherwise, because we're so caught up in the day-to-day of what's happening in the calendar, what's happening in work and in life. But by literally spending 10 seconds every week looking back at your list of written goals or priorities, that alone is such a needle-moving insight that I'm amazed that more people don't do it. And to be honest, this video is advice for myself, because I also sometimes fall off. I know all the studies, did a shit ton of research for my book talking about all this stuff, and still I forget.
Maybe I'm gonna have to watch videos about performance reviews, because I've watched and read about performance reviews, because what you do with work is you do set your quarterly goals and your what you want to be achieving, and there's an entire acronym that I don't remember, but basically it has to be quantifiable. You can't say like, I'm gonna be healthier this year. Okay, well, how are you going to be healthier this year? Like, I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes every day. That's quantifiable, because did you exercise for 30 minutes yesterday, today, tomorrow? If you didn't, then you didn't meet the goal. So maybe this isn't the video I thought it was going to be, but so far nothing controversial, which is nice. But I do agree with going through the exercise of making goals, and then you actually have to reflect on them. And it does make sense to do like a daily stand-up. Maybe that will help me, because I do it mentally every morning. Like, as I'm laying in bed, I'm like, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing tomorrow? I actually start doing my stand-up at night as like a placeholder. That way in the morning I can remember what I'm doing. Or just start making another to-do list.
Sometimes to do my weekly reset where I look at my goals, and sometimes a couple of weeks pass where I haven't looked at my list of goals, and I'm like, damn, I've actually been less consistent with the goals that I set because I simply forgot to look at them. Oh, by the way, if one of your dreams or goals is to potentially grow an audience, or to generate consistent revenue, or turn whatever expertise you have into a full-time gig, you should definitely check out the Future of Newsletters report from HubSpot, who are very kindly sponsoring this video. And you can download this report completely for free using the link in the video description. Now, having an email list and a newsletter.
Someday I'm going to be big enough that I get brand sponsorships. That is, well, how about we say like that's a long-term goal? How do we get to that? Well, we're consistent. We do a video every day, and we get to that 1,000 subscribers and the watching. So I'll continue experimenting with the formatting of this to make sure that it winds up, sustainable for me, entertaining for you.
Newsletter is one of the most underrated, I guess, social media platforms out there, in that it's sort of like a social media platform, but it's also sort of not. It is in the sense that you can directly connect with your audience, but it's not in the sense that you actually own the platform of your newsletter rather than building the house on borrowed land, as it were. And this free report is packed with tips and insights to help you create and improve your own newsletter, whether you're a business owner or a content creator. I've personally had my own email newsletter.
I still think it's rather intuitive. What you need to do in order to grow is just our skills at actually executing it. And again, I thought this would be financial. Well, it's kind of finance related, because I'm goal oriented. So if I say like I want to reinvest $4,000 every month, then how am I going to achieve that, and did I do it? That's very quantifiable. But using our brains and how we're hardwired, and because everyone's brain chemistry is different, so there's not going to be one system that works for literally everyone. So if you have a system that works for you, that's great. I'm always open to doing new techniques and trying them for a little bit, and then did it work or did it not work? And if it didn't work, try to reflect on why it didn't work and maybe improve on it, or abandon it, or try something different.
Since April 2018, so it's been over 6.5 years that I've been sending it every single week. And one section I really loved from the report is that it talked about a bunch of different ways that you can generate recurring revenue through subscriptions, and a bunch of actionable ideas along that vein. This resource is made completely for free by HubSpot, who are today's video sponsor, so thank you very much for them for making this video possible, and do check out the free report in the video description. All right, let's move on to strategy number 3, and here we can cite this meta-analysis of, I think, 138 studies that covered nearly 20,000 participants, and the authors of the meta-analysis found that one simple strategy that you can use to improve your odds of goal attainment is simply to monitor your progress.
Monitoring my progress. So yeah, when I make my Excel spreadsheet, my to-do list, and I just copy it over from the previous day, it counts as like my stand-up and stuff. So yes, I'm gonna have to start doing that again. I go through phases of I need this, and phases of like, actually I know what I need to do. So
regularly. In my case, for example, in my weekly reset thing, I asked myself, what were my quarterly quests and how are they going? The "and how are they going" bit encourages me to actually monitor progress. Generally, I give it...
Yeah, I guess you can say "and how are they going" as like a self-diary journaling thing, but I don't know. I kind of know how it's going because I'm living it, but maybe we can add that to the habit.
red, yellow, or green, or I just say kind of on track or off track. Just even that is enough for me to monitor the progress that I'm making towards my goals. Every single day when I make the time to do my morning manifesto and I ask myself, what were our priorities for the week and how are they going? Again, I'm monitoring progress. I defined the most important priorities at the start of the week, and now I'm just checking in with myself to see how am I actually doing in achieving them. The other way that I personally like to do this monitoring progress thing, it's also fairly simple. I use an app, Things3, for my to-do list, and within Things...
Yeah, you don't need Things3 or anything like that. Just use a Google spreadsheet. It's available on your phone, on your desktop, wherever, and you can do that. Or I like to Slack myself notes, and then when I'm done, I just give it like a checkbox emoji. So, and you can do Slack for free.
Things3, I have the various projects that I'm working on. So I've got, you can ignore Iram and Angus. This is sort of two of my team members that I delegate stuff to. So that is a project because of delegation and stuff. But I basically split up my project into work and life. And you can see I've got these 4 different projects under work: company relocation, life OS, mastermind, and learn AI agents. And I've got get food and autopilot because I'm sorting out like some sort of food situation for my life. These are a couple of the projects that I'm actively working on. And about once a week when I update my projects list, I will just put a little emoji of like yellow or green. Green is it is on track. Yellow is that it's sort of a bit off track, but there's a plan to get it back on track. And if it's red, it's like off track without a plan. You can also monitor your progress in any which way you like. Back when I was...
Yeah, I would definitely, instead of doing the red light, green light system, just write more daily goals to get myself aligned. It's not that deep, honestly.
Was writing my book, Feel Good Productivity, I monitored progress in terms of word counts for specific chapters, because that's like an easy way to make progress more visible. It also just makes it feel better as you're achieving a goal if you're able to...
Yeah, and it's quantifiable. You can tell how many words are in your chapter by using the word count tool. So it's easy, and you can say, I wrote enough words today.
To monitor the progress, sort of like the leveling up bar in a video game. As you're killing the monsters and doing the quests, you're leveling up, your experience meter is filling, and there's something very satisfying about that. But what the evidence suggests is that people who just take a small amount of time to regularly monitor the progress of their goals are significantly more likely to actually achieve them. And that is why that is point number 3, monitor your progress. Again, super easy, super simple, doesn't take very long.
Aren't 2 and 3 very, very similar? Like, you have to look at them, but then you monitor them. I'm not disagreeing that you should do these, but maybe look at and then reflect are 2 different things, but these they're the same thing.
Long. If you are not monitoring the progress of your goals, you are leaving a lot of free kind of goal attainment points on the table, and you just might as well start doing it because why not? All right, let's move on to fairly simple strategy number 4. And this comes from a psychologist called Gabrielle Oettingen, and it's a strategy called mental contrasting. Now, mental contrasting is the idea where you basically visualize something that you want in the future, but it's not just about visualizing the outcome. We find that people who spend too long visualizing having already achieved their goals, actually in some studies are less likely to achieve those goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, a lot of things with psychology, just because it intuitively makes sense to us does not mean that's how our brains actually work. But based off of all of the social media I have consumed about, bad life coach scams and stuff like that, you can't just try to visualize your goal without also having the plan for how to achieve it, because when you spend too long doing that, then it feels like you've already achieved the goal, but you haven't. And you've not made a path for yourself to actually achieve it. So, yeah.
But if you visualize achieving your goals and you also contrast it with the obstacles that you might encounter along the way, that is mental contrasting, and that really seems to boost people's goal attainment. And so this psychologist, Gabrielle Oettingen, came...
Is that really contrast? But yes, that this seems how do I put this? The contrasting part where you're saying, like, what are the problems that I need to solve in order to get to that? That's basically just how you get your quantifiable goals of, like, I want to get 1,000 subscribers. Okay, well, what are my blockers for this channel? Okay, maybe my thumbnails need improving, or I need to pick shorter videos so that my videos are also shorter as a reaction, or maybe at some point I experiment with not doing reaction videos or doing, Reddit reactions or something like that. Like, basically it's the content itself and my personality and including my dogs and stuff. So there's different, and setting titles and things like that. So the problem setting, yes, you need to think about what are the obstacles getting in the way of that, and then use those and compare the problem with the goal in order to set your actual, quantifiable hard goals. So yeah, this makes sense.
Came up with a fairly simple technique called the WHOOP method, which stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan.
Yep. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. Okay, let's let him explain it.
Now, the wish and the outcome is where you are basically setting the goal. There are all sorts of different ways for goal setting. You can use the GPS system, which is my personal favorite. You can think in terms of facts, feelings, and functionality. You can think in terms of wish and outcome, like what...
I like how he's giving us the actual meat and potatoes here, but he's glossing over it so much. The GPS system, okay, the facts, the feelings, and what was the...
setting the goal. There are all sorts of different ways for goal setting. You can use the GPS system, which is my personal favorite. You can think in terms of facts, feelings, and functionality.
Facts, feelings, functionality. Okay. How do you want to feel? What is the statistical thing to do? And then functionality, how does it actually functionally fit into your life? Anyways.
You can think in terms of wish and outcome, like what is the thing that you wish for and what is the outcome that would happen as a result of you achieving that goal. But then the key bit of the WHOOP method is this obstacle and plan. You are visualizing the obstacles that might stand in your path. Let's say, I've set the goal of, writing my next book by halfway through next year. All right, cool. What are the obstacles that could get in my path? Well, one obstacle is I might not make the time for it. Another obstacle is I might run out of ideas. Another obstacle is I might feel demotivated when I sit down to try and write. And then the final component of the WHOOP method is plan. What is my plan for addressing those obstacles? So I might say, okay, cool. I'm going to put in 3 hours on my calendar block every single morning to focus on writing. I might do a few brainstorming sessions with my team to avoid the problem of running out of ideas. And I might use an app that me and my team have built called VoicePal to make writing more fun, because then I can write the book while talking rather than while simply...
Okay. So I think using the WHOOP method to actually sit down and write down your goal, and then I like this. That way you have an exact answer for what man, okay. So for example, if I'm I want to reach 1,000 subscribers, what is the outcome of that? Well, I get this channel monetized. And then what is an obstacle? My title writing. How can I achieve that? I can commit to running the title through ChatGPT and letting it help me get that. And also, if there's A/B testing available on this, I can commit to trying different titles to see what works. And YouTube is starting to do with thumbnails too, so I can experiment to see if like the curiosity gap is being met with my thumbnails, which I know that they're bad. Like, the quality of me is really fuzzy, but I don't know, they seem really funny to me. Like, it's also amusing to me.
Typing on a computer. And so strategy number 4 that we have here is visualize obstacles and to make a plan. Again, doesn't take very long to do. Each time you set a goal, you can just spend literally 3 minutes thinking to yourself, okay, cool, wish outcome, WO.
I really love it when people say it takes like 13 seconds, it takes 5 minutes. Like, when I have to write more than 2 sentences together at the same time, it takes me like an hour. I am a programmer, which is different because it's not complete sentences. But whenever I have to like form paragraphs, it takes me forever. I just don't like doing it. So it falls under like administrative things I don't like to do. But that's also something I could set a goal for to get better at. So it's not to say I can't learn how to do it, but it might take you more than 3 minutes. And if it takes you like an entire day to do it, like it'll probably take me, I'll probably be setting goals for a few days here in December. So I said that I wasn't going to make huge changes to my portfolio until, 2026, but I wound up having to make big changes. So I'm like in a place now where I can do my regular goal setting for the year. So it's like starting to be time for that though.
Obstacle plan. What are the obstacles that could get in my way, and what's my plan for overcoming those obstacles? And again, according to the research, this will drastically improve your odds of actually achieving the goal. And then finally, we come to fairly easy.
Okay, so I just watched the ad for contentcreator.com, and if I were employed but by like an outside employer, I would be very tempted to just buy that course. The last course I bought was Phaser, and I made it through like 2.5 lessons out of 13. And since then I got laid off and I just stopped doing it because doing 2D games is for people that have the time to do it. So I think I might, not anytime soon, but I might go onto that website and see what tools they use and then just learn it on my own without paying money, because a lot of those things are just, you have to experiment with it until you get good at it and have a goal. A lot of these AI things require subscriptions, so I might have to make goals like that. But yeah, to tie this into finance, I think it's good to set your long-term goals maybe first, where, like, for example, if you are a younger woman and you say, well, I want to get, married someday and have kids, and I don't want to have to work while I have the kids, or at least just have the option of not returning to work right away, then that is a long-term goal, which is a little fuzzier. And then what you can do in the meantime is look into investing, and I'm not saying to do this, but into high-income ETFs that return, 15, 20, 35, 50, over 100% yield, and see how much money you would have to do that. And that's a midterm goal of, you say, like, in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm going to have this amount of money that returns this percent per month. That way, when I get married and I have kids, I have the option to not go back to work. Okay, then how do you get to that amount of money in 3 to 5 years? Then you say, okay, well, every paycheck, I'm going to take, $500, $1,000, $2,000, whatever you have per paycheck, and say, I'm going to invest this into my tax brokerage account. And that way I can reach my goal. And so that would be the one that you are every week and every paycheck reviewing and saying, yes, I did do this and I'm on track with this goal, versus, well, this paycheck, this happened, that happened, I wasn't able to do that. And then, like, are you going to remediate it? Like, are you going to try to make up that amount in the next paycheck, or are you just going to not? I would suggest not trying to make it up and just say, well, the next paycheck I'm going to do the full amount. So what is the last one?
And that is to tie them to an identity. Now, the classic example of this is that there was a study where they looked at
giving it a persona. Hello, this is Janet. Janet wants to be a millionaire.
voting. So for some of the people in the study, they asked, will you vote in this election? And for the other half, they asked, will you be a voter in this election? And they found that the people who were asked the question of will you be a voter were way more likely to vote than the people who were simply asked, will you vote? Will you vote is an action, will you be a voter is an identity. So the key thing here is, wherever possible, when you've got your goals, you want to just sort of spend an extra 20 seconds to tie them to an identity. For example, one of my goals is to reduce my visceral abdominal tissue because, genetics and stuff, and I want to live longer and healthier, and I've been reading Outlive by Peter Attia. Now, setting the goal of improving my bench press or reducing my visceral adipose tissue or all that kind of stuff is all well and good, but if I were to take the 20 seconds to tie them to an identity of I am a healthy person, that will make it more likely that I'll actually achieve the goals and I'll actually stick.
This feels like when I was writing stories in Jira, and they would make us say, like, as a developer, and we couldn't even do as a developer because the product was not for the developer. So we'd say, like, as this level of role that needs to do this thing, I would need this new feature. And so it's like the agile mindset of making sure that you have the identity of what you're trying to achieve correct. And to me, unnecessary. This is the one that I'm not going to do.
Stick with it when the going gets tough because I've resonated with that identity. Similarly, I found when I was working on my YouTube channel, when I gave myself...
I feel like rephrasing it where it's like, I am going to be a millionaire versus like, I'm going to have or my bank account will have $1 million in it, or like my brokerage account will have $1 million. So I guess that's the thing. I think most of the time when you're talking about personal finance, or personifying it anyway as like, I am a wealthy person. And that is the goal, is to be wealthy in money, wealthy in time, wealthy with my family, wealthy with my health, wealthy with my thoughts.
Self-permission.
Wealthy with the hydroponics.
To lean into the identity of I am a YouTuber, that was what allowed me to stay consistent with making YouTube videos in the tough times. For ages, I did not identify with the identity of being an author or being a writer because I had all sorts of imposter syndrome around it. Who am I to...
I still say I am a programmer. I feel more comfortable than saying I am a financial influencer versus, like I am the entertainer. I know just where I stand. Anyways.
To write a book, any of this sort of stuff. But when I lent into that identity of being an author, at the start of this video, I'm a doctor turned entrepreneur and author, leaning into the identity of being an author, what...
Oh, I suppose I am an entrepreneur. Someday I'll be able to say that with a straight face.
What does an author do? An author writes. What does a writer do? A writer writes. That makes it a lot easier in the mornings when I'm figuring out what I want to do with my day, what I want to do with my week. Oh yeah, I'm a writer. I guess I should do some writing. And this is often in line with the goals that I have for my...
No one ever say anything about imposter syndrome. But yeah, don't be nervous about the labels you give yourself as long as it's non-toxic. So I am an entrepreneur. I am a financial influencer. I am a YouTuber. This sounds like boasting, but it's not. It's just getting into the persona and like which... Do you do goals per persona, or do you just have 3 to 5 goals just in general? I guess that's something that I will be working on, because I have like yield mite goals. I have goals for my personal life, mostly like, hey, you actually do need to do your daily chores and make sure that your house is clean, or at least cleaner than it was before. So yes, we all have goals.
Myself. So the question would be, for whatever goals that you're setting for yourself, how can you tie them to an identity? Because, there's a quote that I really like from Tony Robbins, which is that the strongest force in human personality is the need to stay consistent in how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as a procrastinator, you actually will stay consistent with that. If you define yourself as a YouTuber, you're more likely to stay consistent with that. If you can get over the imposter syndrome and define yourself...
Oh, I said nobody ever talks about the imposter syndrome, and then he mentions the imposter syndrome. So yes, if you own your labels and you can write goals for your personas of yourself, then I would say something about burnout, of like, as long as you're trying to build your personas up and what you label yourself as, then you probably won't burn out. It's when you like try to give yourself a label that isn't really gelling with your personality, and you try to work towards those goals, then it might cause a little bit of burnout.
Yourself as a high performer or as an entrepreneur, you're more likely to do the sorts of things that high performers or entrepreneurs or healthy people or whatever the thing might be. You're more likely to actually do those things, therefore you're more likely to achieve your goals in that domain. Now, if you incorporate all these 5 things, which I hope you do because they're super easy to do and you might as well, and they're evidence-based and they work. If you incorporate these 5 things, there is still one mistake that you might run into, which is the idea of setting too many goals. And here I want to link you to that video, which is my summary of Cal Newport's new book, Slow Productivity, that makes a really strong case for doing less but better, and doing it in a way that doesn't foster burnout. So if you haven't yet read Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, you can check out that video over there where I summarize the kind of the key learnings from the book, and I hope you find that useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.
Okay. So he's doing a lot of things that the YouTubers that talk about how to create YouTube content that is successful, those type of YouTubers, he's doing a really good job of making these videos. Unlike me, who's just sitting on my couch with my dogs, who sometimes come and hang out with me and sometimes are out there barking at squirrel farts. But I do agree with this, and I am trying to, because this is a personal finance commentary channel, tie it back to that. I think going back to the very basics of how are we going through and making the goals is important for when we do set the goals, because budgeting is just a number. It's not like, you shouldn't go in my opinion, when you budget, don't set ideal numbers first. Journal what you're doing first, and that way when you go to set the goal for the numbers, it's based in reality and not just like what you think should be the goal. And when you go through and set your goals financially, it might be good to actually write out, I am going to go out to eat only up to twice a week, so that I can save $100. And that will help me achieve my goal of financial independence, so that I don't have to work past the age of 50 or something like that. Just making sure that you, when you're making the sacrifices now, that your brain connects it to the long-term goal. Like, I will spend an hour every night making commentary videos. That way I can get another YouTube channel monetized. That creates another income stream, so that I can stop having to have so much yield in my taxable brokerage account and make being self-employed more sustainable. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful for you. So now that we have done the goals, I thought we were going to do tenacity, but we're actually going to watch Manifest because I like that song and I think it is relevant.
They say that you can manifest. Whisper sweet affirmations like spells in the candlelight.
When I got laid off, I was a part of a Discord group and they were talking about manifestation, and so it was inspired by that. And I do believe in manifestation, but only when you have set your goals and you've made progress towards it with actual actions. And you'll hear that in the rest of the song too.
The power of positive thinking will bring good things your way. Just dream, smile, and sit and wait. A mention's on the way.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could just sit around and think about things and then all of a sudden we have a mansion? That would be really fun, wouldn't it?
Darling, no, it's not. Sometimes you must bleed a bit to earn the things you want. So sharpen up your mind and tools, your magic isn't blind. You earn the life you're aching for with every sleepless night.
Look, I am not a subscriber to hustle culture, but I do believe that you can make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. Set aside an hour every day. Do some self-improvement, improve your mind, improve your skill set, improve your connections. And at least that's how I operate and how I feel, that if you have to have a goal in your life and you have to spend time making yourself better. And if you're doing that in general and you're making progress every day and you're trying your best, then it'll feel like things are manifesting, because when you have a good group of people, when everything like that is going on, it all seems to gain momentum.
With your sweat. Having a great attitude brings joy, brings light, it's true. Doors might open, stars align, but only if you move. Thinking isn't doing, dear, you can't just hum and hope. You've got to grab the gears of fate and twist them till they charge.
So, I also happen to believe that if you have a good attitude and you think about positive things and you think about, okay, how can I get out of this, and set your goals and just do it in a constructive manner, then your life winds up being more positive and constructive, rather than focusing on what went wrong and what was me. But that's just a personal opinion. So I do believe actions will really help you with your momentum.
Make a plan, act it out, be the fire, not the smoke. Burn the script they handed you and write your own bespoke. Manifest, your future's in your hands. Not the stars or cosmic laws, but blood and sweat and play. You're screaming through your doubt. The magic's not in rushing, it's in just don't forget. You've got to do it too.
So there you go, a song that kind of makes fun of manifestation, but also telling you how manifestation actually works, where you have to set the goals, you have to do the work, and once you do that, it feels like when people meet you at the end of the journey, they'll say, wow, you manifested that. And it's really just like, well, you didn't see the work that I put into it so that this could happen. It was momentum more than manifestation. But yeah, the same question. What do you set goals? Are you really formal about it, or you more like vibing with your goals? And what systems do you use? Do you use an app? And I will talk to you all later.